Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is April 6th, 2015. This is show 89, and the name of the show is Going Clear. We got to get better signs, I don't know. But the name of the show is Going Clear. It's funny, my wife makes up the signs. And when I asked her to print this, you know, she showed me a thing on the internet about, she was all excited. She goes, I got to show you this. Look, they've got transparent solar panels. And so when I named the show Going Clear, she thought I was going to do it on transparent solar panels. But no, but, you know, the nice thing is that, you know, her antenna is starting to go up. People are starting to realize things. They're starting to recognize, and when we start to share stuff, and especially on Facebook, and I tell you guys, speaking of Facebook, this week on YouTube, we had over 225 hits. I really want to thank everybody, because it's mostly the people on Facebook, and we're sharing ideas. And guys, tonight's show, I really don't know where you know, this is about the movie Going Clear. You know, it just came out on HBO. And the ironic thing is, the past few shows, you know, we did it, An Honest Liar by the amazing Randy. Then we did Merchants of Doubt with Naomi Oreskes. So all these movies are coming out at the same time. And this Going Clear is, you know, it's about Scientology and the prison of belief. Now, you know, speaking of Facebook, one of the guys wrote in and he said, he goes, Rich, do you always wear the same outfit every week? Is that in case you wander off? And guys, I tell you what, that is so cute. And I can take it as good as I can dish it out. So I tell you, if you want to get with me on Facebook, if you have ideas or suggestions, you know, something that you'd like to see. But, you know, before we really dig into the movie Going Clear, I want to share one quick video that Uncle Joey sent me. And I told him, after I watched this video, I said, Joe, sometimes you got to put warnings on these videos. I tell you guys, because this is so funny. I mean, this kid with a taser. So in the beginning, Judy, got to remember, we're not going to turn the sound on in the beginning of this. We're not going to turn the sound on until the Coke can. So Judy, guys, I'm telling you, this is going to blow you away. And I've seen this so many times, but this is as funny as it gets. This is from Uncle Joey, and this is on Facebook. So, Judy, hit it. Beautiful. See, this guy's talking ghetto right now, so we had to black this out, you know. But here he is. He thinks he's, you know. And now we'll get to the volume. So you can put the volume now, Judy.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Now I'm about to shock this.
What an idiot. Guys, look at the people in the background. Judy, can we have more volume? A little more volume. Guys, some people deserve to be laughed at, you know, and if you do stuff like that, people are gonna laugh at you. But when Joey sent that to me, like I said, sometimes you gotta put warning signs on this, because I told him, I said, Joe, you know, I almost blew a stent the first time. I was laughing uncontrollably. All right, now, guys, we're gonna start to get into the meat of the matter. And what happened is, and this is so weird, I really don't know how this movie came to I don't know how this video came to my attention, but we're going to play a very quick clip, and I just want you to take a look at it and you tell me what you think. So Judy, let's have the first clip.
Alex Gibney spent 2 years secretly producing a film on Scientology, a film he refers to as a documentary.
All right, guys, now you saw the beginning of it, you saw the HBO logo, and yours truly, I thought that it was an HBO production. I really did. So here I am, now I have a lot of respect for HBO. I love a lot of the stuff that they've done with Vice. Bill Maher is my all-time favorite. So I have a lot of respect for HBO. So I'm getting ready to watch this. And after the introduction, more or less what you said, and I'm under the impression that this is actually HBO. We're going to watch the full clip in its entirety, and I want you guys to pay close attention, and I want you to think about what part of the clip would tip you off that it wasn't legit. I mean, pay close attention. This is why we surround ourselves with the question marks. Pay close attention. I want you to do some critical thinking, and what would clue you in on the fact that this is not an HBO production. So guys, when we come back, I'm going to ask you that question, and for now, Judy, hit it.
Alex Gibney spent 2 years secretly producing a film on Scientology, a film he refers to as a documentary. Documentary. It's a word that conjures up images of legitimate investigation and fact-based reporting. But in Gibney's case, there is precious little evidence of either one. During those 2 years of production, Gibney entirely avoided direct interaction with the church, never once taking the time to contact the very subjects of his project. When Gibney finally emerged from seclusion, he presented a one-sided and false diatribe that can scarcely be called journalism. Of course, considering Gibney's pedigree, this is no surprise. His father, Frank Gibney, maintained a public persona as a journalist, but according to a congressional report and the New York Times, Frank Gibney was part of a covert CIA operation to release propaganda through book publishing and the media. Apparently, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because Alex Gibney's HBO piece is textbook propaganda, Gibney handpicking his sources to serve his version of the truth. Among his sources, Mark Marty Rathbun.
Shut the f*** up!
A professional anti-Scientologist with deep-seated anger issues who was expelled from the church more than a decade ago. Gibney quotes Rathbun extensively, including one fabricated morsel in which his prized source describes a church facility as a prison camp, a buzzword guaranteed to manipulate public misperception. Gibney exhibits a shameful lack of originality with his dramatization of this so-called prison camp, ants crawling up a wall. It's an old sheep propaganda trick borrowed from one of the most reprehensible films of all time. Laughable were the intent not so vicious. Of course, Gibney never actually showed the place he's supposedly documenting. He didn't want to. That would have ruined his story. So let's take a look at what Gibney, sight unseen, calls a prison camp. Located in Southern California, the facility includes an exquisitely appointed state-of-the-art audiovisual production facility spanning 500 acres. The property is a self-contained movie studio dedicated to film and video productions that advance the church's religious mission. and it features immaculate administrative offices as well as dedicated spaces for every aspect of filmmaking. This is the church's film studio, aptly known as the Castle. It's home to one of the largest sound stages in the world, and it's open for public tours. The soundstage itself is more than 3 stories tall and is large enough to accommodate 4 professional basketball courts. Yes, this is the spot Gibney portrays with ants crawling up a wall. Here's more of the reality: the film and video editing facilities, with more than a dozen high-definition editing bays. A full music recording and mixing area serving every film and video produced at the studio. It includes this green room for musicians and singers between takes. Add to all of that a music composition room for scoring, outfitted with the most advanced equipment in existence. The music mix room is capable of producing everything from stereo mixes to full theater-quality 5.1 surround sound. But Alex Gibney showed none of this. Instead, he showed ants. He could have shown the administrative offices for church management. Here's the reception. Here's the conference room. And the central courtyard. But Gibney stayed true to his agenda and left all of it out of his so-called documentary. Even the park just outside the offices. What did Gibney show instead? Ants. And while Gibney himself has said, "The thing I worry about most is getting it wrong," Gibney couldn't have gotten it more wrong. After all, this is also the place Gibney dismissed as a prison camp. Here are the staff's living quarters. These are the staff apartments, each building with its own 2-story lounge and library. And here are the apartments themselves. The housekeeping facilities include a central laundry that does the staff's washing, dry cleaning, and even irons their bed linen. While as for the rest of the amenities, here is the staff dining room, with a professional kitchen to accommodate hundreds at every meal. Instead of all this, Alex Gibney showed ants. Gibney might have shown any of the recreational facilities, like this communal pool and barbecue area, or the tennis courts, the basketball courts, or the sand volleyball courts, the baseball diamond, the soccer field, or the property's own golf course and clubhouse where public events are held. All of this is the alleged prison camp. But Gibney wasn't interested in the truth, because that would have ruined the story he wanted to tell. Gibney's deceit can be proven with just a click, because every bit of this footage is viewable on the church's website and has been for years. An actual documentarian would have shown the place he was documenting. A propagandist will show you this. And Gibney's star witness, the one who called it a prison camp, he used to live at the place. Here's where he lived after he was removed from the church. A far cry from the church's workers' paradise, a place he called a prison camp that's actually more like Club Med. Then again, this is a guy known to have a skewed view of reality, as evidenced by his frequent aggressive outbursts and the way he addresses his congregation.
Shut the up!
But Alex Gibney can hide behind no such excuse. He's simply dishonest and carrying out a prejudicial agenda. Gibney was offered the opportunity to meet with church staff and parishioners on 14 separate occasions. In fact, Sheila Nevins, HBO's head of documentary programming, received the same repeated invitations, but both flatly refused. So there's really no other explanation for the fictitious narrative contrived by author Lawrence Wright, strung together by Alex Gibney and rubber-stamped by Sheila Nevins. All three determined to make sure that the truth never got in the way of their false propaganda. And so they give you ants.
Now, guys, I want to see if you picked up you know, where if you realize where this wasn't legit. Because I want to tell you something. When I watched this initially, I was ready to kill these guys. I mean, I was hot. I was led to believe that these guys were the scum of the earth and that everything they did was to victimize Scientology. I mean, you guys watched the video. You watched the whole thing. And I tell you, I was mad. Now, let me ask the question again. What was the one thing that told you that this was all made up? Come on, guys. What's the one thing that proved it was all made up? Judy, you want to dissolve in with that graphic? You probably missed it because nope, we got to go. There we go. Guys, at the end of the clip, there was no sound whatsoever. They just showed the HBO logo and it said, it's not the truth, it's HBO. And guys, how many people might have just missed that? Or they might have saw the logo and they might have said, you know, sometimes you miss things. You don't read it. You just see the logo, you know, at a quick glance. And they might say, oh, I saw it on HBO. Those two guys are trying to ruin Scientology and it's all propaganda. Well, guys, what's the one thing we do on this show? We want to tell you who's telling the truth. So the next video we have is a point-by-point virtual retraction of everything that they said. And guys, they laid it out so beautifully. I didn't have to do anything but look at the video, download it, and bring it to you. And we're going to start the beginning just to show you that I'm not cracking up. So we're going to play the very first video, the short one, Judy. So let's have the next one, number 4. Guys, this is just to show that point by point, Scientology claims are, you know, if they're bound.
Okay.
But you see it right there.
Is this HBO?
All right. Now, guys, that was the HBO logo. And these guys have put out so far 14 different videos. And when you see how they go about it, and when you see the chicanery and what they do to people's lives and the control and how they've ruined it. I tell you guys, these guys are done. And the fact that they're a church and they're able to get tax exemptions, I mean, these guys, you know, these guys remind me of, I don't know if you remember back in the 70s, we had the Moonies, Reverend Sung Young Moon. Well, they finally locked his butt up, and guess where he spent his time in jail? Right here in Danbury, Connecticut. And we were happy to have him. But now the prison went all women, so. All right, but the next clip we're going to show you guys is the point-by-point, case-by-case comparison. And, you know, some of this stuff is just going to make you sick, especially when they use the comparisons with the Nazis and the concentration camps. And when you look, these guys, they're sick pups. These people, I'm telling you, something ain't working. The connections aren't all there. So, Judy, let's watch the first part. Let's have the next clip. Hit it.
Okay, shot number 1. Is this HBO? No. The expose we're about to cover is made by the Church of Scientology. To be clear, even though it's starting off with the HBO logo and trademark sound, this is not HBO.
Alex Gibney spent 2 years secretly producing a film on Scientology, a film he refers to as a documentary. Documentary. It's a word that conjures up images of legitimate investigation and fact-based reporting. But in Gibney's case, there is precious little evidence of either one. During those 2 years of production, Gibney entirely avoided direct interaction with the church, never once taking the time to contact the very subjects of his project.
Okay, claim number 1. Scientology says Gibney never took the time to contact the subject of his documentary. Throughout this video, Scientology will press upon this point. Here's what Gibney has to say about it.
You know, I issued a statement about it, but I'll say it again, and it's in the film. We reached out for interviews with the people that were relevant to our story. Scientology wanted to send us a delegation of 25 unidentified individuals, presumably to smear the people who were in our film. I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in speaking to people on the subjects of the film and our stories. Also, we encouraged the Church of Scientology to send us relevant documents that hadn't already been provided to Larry and his research team. They declined to do so.
Can you put the
When
bugs
Gibney
up and
finally
stuff
emerged from
on the
seclusion,
Facebook page
he
while it's
presented a
playing?
one-sided and false diatribe that can scarcely
Just,
be
go
called
back and forth
journalism.
and,
Of course, considering Gibney's
you.
pedigree, this is no surprise. His father, Frank Gibney, maintained a public persona as a journalist, but according to a congressional report and the New York Times, Frank Gibney was part of a covert CIA operation to release propaganda through book publishing and the media.
Claim number 2. Scientology is now attacking Gibney's father. Gibney's father died in April of 2006. This was years before Alex Gibney began his film about Scientology. His father in no way could have played a role in Alex Gibney's film. I don't think it's ethical to attack someone through their family members. However, I'll set the record straight about Gibney's father. Frank Gibney wrote a book about a Soviet spy called The Penkovsky Papers, which he claimed had been taken straight from Penkovsky's diary. Frank Gibney later admitted he had written the book from CIA memos. The book may have been commissioned by the CIA in a propaganda project. As shady as that is, that's it. That's the worst dirt Scientology could find on the man's career. A man that worked as an interpreter in post-war Japan, a foreign correspondent for magazines like Time, Newsweek, and Life. He was the vice chairman of the board of editors at the Encyclopedia Britannica. He wrote or edited 11 books, including The Pacific Century, which was made into an Emmy Award-winning TV show, and he was the man who founded the Pacific Basin Institute, which continues to this day as an institution that aims to bridge the cultural gap between the U.S. and Asia.
Apparently, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because Alex Gibney's HBO piece is textbook propaganda, Gibney handpicking his sources to serve his version of the truth. Among his sources, Marty Rathbun.
Shut the fuck up!
Claim number 3. Alex Gibney used Marty Rathbun as a source. This is true.
A professional anti-Scientologist with deep-seated anger issues who was expelled from the church more than a decade ago.
Rathbun was expelled from the Church of Scientology, but he was only expelled by the church retroactively, long after he escaped it. He later moved to Texas, which was, according to him, as far away as possible from the 2 major Scientology bases, which are located in California and Florida. The footage you are seeing here was filmed by a special group of Scientologists that moved into a house a few doors down from Rathbun to specifically harass him and his wife on a regular basis. They appear to be doing this in order to get reactions just like the one you witnessed, to be able to use in films just like this one. This video is shot from Rathbun's point of view. These people were sent by Scientology.
Say? You can't even defend yourself on this, can you?
What's your name?
I gave you my name, Marty.
What's your name?
Marty, I gave you my name. Now let's go take a look at a folder.
What's your name?
Why don't you answer his question?
Marty, let's take a look at a folder.
What's your name?
Marty, let's take a look at a folder. You can't touch him, Marty.
What's your name?
Come on, Marty. Go get me your meter. You're squirreling, and we would like to
What's
see
your
that
name,
thing to the
please?
end.
The harassment hasn't ended for Rathbun nor his wife. When Rathbun flew to Los Angeles in October of last year, he was greeted by a different harassment crew. Believe it or not, these people are Scientology's top executives. Like before, they are trying to get a reaction from Rathbun, but this time he is able to keep his cool.
And go live a life. Why don't you get a life, man? Just get a life. You've had 0 effect, none, and nobody gives a fuck about you. That's the truth.
We are doing so well. So scary, man.
Nobody has even noticed you're gone, man.
Nobody.
You're nothing. That's the point. You're nothing.
No contact.
Now back to Scientology's expose on Gibney.
Gibney quotes Rathbun extensively, including one fabricated morsel in which his prized source describes a church facility as a prison camp.
Claim number 4. Marty Rathbun described a church facility as a prison camp. This is not true, but only technically. In a recent post on Rathbun's blog, he wrote that the facility in question is a, quote, Scientology concentration and torture camp, unquote. Later, Rathbun does talk about Scientology prison camps, but he uses the plural form, implying that there are multiple Scientology facilities that are used as prisons.
A buzzword guaranteed to manipulate public misperception. Gibney exhibits a shameful lack of originality with his dramatization of this so-called prison camp, ants crawling up a wall.
Here's the clip from Alex Gibney's documentary.
The doors had bars put on them, the windows all had bars put on them, and there was one entrance door that a security guard sat at 24 hours a day.
I had to stay there, sleep there. It stunk, and there were ants crawling around. Did you sleep about an hour, 2 hours a night? You were in such a mental state that you're very controllable, very suggestible.
And here's what Scientology's piece has to say about it.
It's an old sheet propaganda trick borrowed from one of the most reprehensible films of all time. Laughable were the intent not so vicious. Of course, Gibney never actually showed the place he's supposedly documenting. He didn't want to. That would have ruined his story.
Claim number 5. Alex Gibney is using Nazi propaganda techniques in his film. His use of ants is similar to portraying the Jews as rats. As a Jew whose family was almost entirely extinguished by the Nazis, I am well aware of Nazi propaganda techniques, and fascist techniques in general. I agree with Scientology in that fascist propaganda techniques are laughable if their intent was not so vicious. So I take these claims to Gibney's Nazi ties very seriously.
Wherever rats turn up, they carry destruction to the land by destroying mankind's goods and nourishment and spreading diseases and plagues, such as cholera, dysentery, leprosy, and typhoid fever. They are cunning, cowardly, and cruel, and usually appear in massive hordes. They represent the elements of sneakiness and subterranean destruction among animals, just as the Jews do among mankind.
I do not see the connection between Gibney's ants, which portrayed ants, and the Nazis' rats, which portrayed Jews. However, as long as we're on the subject of Nazi propaganda...
In contrast to reality, the Nazi propaganda film of 1944 shows women being quartered in a residential hut. It does not show the horribly overfilled barracks and attics where most of the inmates lived, only those sleeping quarters specially prepared for the film. Instead of the omnipresent 3-tiered bunks, one sees only 2-tiered bunks. The top bed has been removed for the filming. Where in reality 20 people squatted round a table, were now sat only 6, apparently enjoying a life of leisure in the style of a feature movie.
Guys, you see how nice the Nazis tried to make the concentration camps look? They were all sitting around picnic tables, sewing, knitting, reading, playing cards, having fun. We know what really happened in the concentration camps, don't we? And for these people to stoop so low as to use this in a video about a movie that's about them, I mean, you can't stoop any lower. It doesn't get any worse. These people have, I don't know what these people have. Something's wrong here. I mean, wait, it gets worse. The next part of the clip, it gets even worse. So Judy, while we're on a roll, let's keep going. Hit it.
So let's take a look at what Gibney, sight unseen, calls a prison camp. Located in Southern California, the facility includes an exquisitely appointed state-of-the-art audiovisual production facility spanning 500 acres. The property is a self-contained movie studio dedicated to film and video productions that advance the church's religious mission. And it features immaculate administrative offices as well as dedicated spaces for every aspect of filmmaking. This is the church's film studio, aptly known as the Castle. It's home to one of the largest sound stages in the world.
Claim number 6. It's one of the biggest sound stages in the world. This is true. Scientology owns one of the biggest sound stages in the world.
And it's open for public tours.
Claim number 7. It's open for public tours.
Just so everybody knows, my name is Kathy. It's not a problem. But we're not open to the public.
Why don't you invite us in, please? We're coming in goodwill. You mean to tell me that we're coming to visit the Church of Scientology and you're calling the police on us?
We're not open to the public.
Why not?
We're a movie studio. We're not open to the public.
To be honest, I was thrilled with the idea that I could take a tour of this normally very locked down, very secretive Scientology compound. So I emailed Scientology using the first name that popped into my mind, a name that happened to be shared with British musician James Blake. The exchange went as follows. To whom it may concern, does your organization give tours? I've always been curious about Scientology. Thank you for your time, James Blake. Hi, James. Yes, the church is open for tours. And then she gives the address and hours of a church in Hollywood. You are totally welcome to come in and satisfy your curiosity. Best, Sarah, Info Center. Thank you for getting back to me, and that's great to hear. Actually, I was wondering if I could take a tour of your movie studio. The narrator in this video said, it's open for public tours. It's around the 3-minute mark. Thanks again. Hi, James. The movie studio you mentioned in Gibney's propaganda video is Golden Era Productions in Riverside. In Los Angeles, you can tour the Church of Scientology on Sunset Boulevard as per my previous email. Best, Sarah. Thank you for getting back to me so quickly. I would love to take a tour of Golden Era Productions in Riverside. What is the best day and time to show up? Thanks again, James. Immediately following Sarah's initial email, I got another email from a church representative. Sarah must have forwarded my info to her. Dear James, we absolutely give tours, and our doors are always open for anyone to walk in and check it out for themselves. What church are you near? Go to the following link and find the one nearest to you and let me know. Best wishes, Chandra. Hi, Chandra. I would actually like to tour your movie studio, Golden Era Productions. The narrator in this video said it's open for public tours. It's around the 3-minute mark. Thanks for your help, James. So, I'm going to have to reluctantly conclude that Scientology's giant movie studio is, in fact, not open for public tours.
The soundstage itself is more than 3 stories tall and is large enough to accommodate 4 professional basketball courts. Yes, this is the spot Gibney portrays with ants crawling up a wall.
Claim number 8. This is the spot that Gibney portrays ants climbing up the wall. False. This is not the spot. This is where the people in Gibney's film claim that they were held prisoner, humiliated, sleep-deprived, and yes, living with an ant infestation.
Here's more of the reality. The film and video editing facilities, with more than a dozen high-definition editing bays. A full music recording and mixing area serving every film and video produced at the studio. It includes this green room for musicians and singers between takes. Add to all of that a music composition room for scoring, outfitted with the most advanced equipment in existence. The music mix room is capable of producing everything from stereo mixes to full theater-quality 5.1 surround sound. But Alex Gibney showed none of this. Instead, he showed ants.
He could have shown the administrative offices for church management. Here's the reception. Here's the conference room. And the central courtyard. But Gibney stayed true to his agenda and left all of it out of his so-called documentary. Even the park just outside the offices. What did Gibney show instead? Ants.
And while Gibney himself has said, the thing I worry about most is getting it wrong.
Claim number 9. Gibney said, quote, "The thing I worry about most is getting it wrong," unquote. In an interview with The Telegraph, Gibney did say, quote, "The thing I worry about all the time is getting it wrong, and God knows I came close to getting it wrong on this one," unquote. But he was talking about how Lance Armstrong lied to him in a documentary he worked on in 2009. This quote had nothing to do with the documentary Gibney made about Scientology.
Gibney couldn't have gotten it more wrong. After all, this is also the place Gibney dismissed as a prison camp.
Claim number 10. Gibney called Golden Era Productions a prison camp. This is false.
Here are the staff's living quarters. These are the staff apartments, each building with its own 2-story lounge and library. And here are the apartments themselves. The housekeeping facilities include a central laundry that does the staff's washing, dry cleaning, and even irons their bed linen. While as for the rest of the amenities, here is the staff dining room, with a professional kitchen to accommodate hundreds at every meal. Instead of all this, Alex Gibney showed ants. Gibney might have shown any of the recreational facilities, like this communal pool, barbecue area, or the tennis courts, the basketball courts, or the sand volleyball courts, the baseball diamond, the soccer field, or the property's own
golf course and clubhouse, where public events are held.
We're a movie studio. We're not open to the public.
All of this is the alleged prison camp. But Gibney wasn't interested in the truth, because that would have ruined the story he wanted to tell. Gibney's deceit can be proven with just a click, because every bit of this footage is viewable on the church's website and has been for years.
Let's pause here for a second. This is the website where the church attack videos are released. First of all, and it looks like the church has had some allegations leveled against them before. What is all this about?
Tonight, as we continue our investigation, you'll hear from other high-ranking Scientologists saying that David Miscavige was the one behind the violence, although the church emphatically denies it.
Miscavige was always threats, bullying, haranguing people, verbal abuse, physical abuse. That was his game. He is a bully.
An actual documentarian would have shown the place he was documenting. A propagandist will show you this. And Gibney's star witness, the one who called it a prison camp, he used to live at the place.
Claim number 12. Marty Rathburn used to live at a Scientology compound, which is also called the International Base, or INT Base for short. This is true. Here he is talking about it.
Regularly, David Miscavige would, in the middle of a conference, in a conference room full of people at the INT Base, physically assault and punch, slap open-handed, grab by the neck, throw to the floor, a number of international executives.
Here's where he lived after he was removed from the church.
Besides the disconcerting crow and the Scientology stalkers taking pictures of the house, this actually looks like a pretty nice place to live. But it's not really my business where Marty lives, and I don't see how it's Scientology's business either.
A far cry from the church's workers' paradise. A place he called a prison camp that's actually more like Club Med.
So guys, Scientology wants you to think that their place is like Club Med. That's the impression they want to give you. The same impression that the Nazis wanted to give the Jews, when they showed the propaganda clips where you saw everybody sitting around reading and sewing and playing cards, same propaganda, but what they do is they have to give you the double reverse. Because if they told you the truth, holy moly, the crap would hit the fan. Now, the next clip, we're going to go to an interview with Lawrence Wright, and he's the guy that wrote the book. So when you get your information, would you rather get your information from the guy that wrote the book or the guy that read the book? Tonight, we're going to show you the guy that wrote the book. So Judy, hit it.
For his new book, Going Clear, Scientology, Hollywood, and the Prison of Belief, Wright conducted more than 200 personal interviews of former and current Scientologists in the course of his investigation and delved into droves of archives. The book is a fearless and in-depth look into the world of Scientology. Let's learn more about it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lawrence Wright and Mark Updegrove.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Well, welcome.
Thank you, Mark. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. You have taken on many daunting subjects in your literary works. What led you to take on Scientology and Going Clear?
Well, I've always been interested in why people believe one thing rather than another, especially in America, where you can believe anything. You know, it's not every country is like that. In many countries I've been in, you can only believe one thing. You can believe it more or less, but you really, the menu is not very, very big. But here, you have this smorgasbord of beliefs. And if you don't see something, you can invent something. So, and why do people gravitate to these different beliefs? And what does it say about them? So I've written a lot about religion in my career. I've written about the Mormons and the Amish and the Satanists, even Madeleine Mary O'Hare, the atheist who used to live here. I've many different religions, and of course in my last book before this one, Radical Islam in the Looming Tower. So, but Scientology seemed especially intriguing because it's so bizarre, esoteric, and then you have all these notable personalities who lend their prestige to what is the most stigmatized religion in the country. And I don't think that they get anything out of being affiliated with Scientology publicly. In fact, I think they suffer a kind of public relations martyrdom for their religious beliefs. So why? Why do they do this? That's what led me into it. I think there was a questions that most people had about Scientology.
So the Church of Scientology is well known for being wealthy, defensive, and litigious.
Yeah.
Did you fear reprisals, legal and otherwise, in your investigating Scientology?
Well, we thought about it. I mean, I talked to the editor of the New Yorker, David Remnick, several years ago about my interest in writing about Scientology. And we were aware of the reputation of the church. There was one really notable example in 1991, Time magazine published an expose. Richard Bayar was a reporter. And the church sued Time magazine and Bayar individually. And they hired private investigators to go through his mail and, his telephone records and, follow him around. But the church lost at every stage along the way, all the way up to the Supreme Court. It took 10 years to resolve. It was the most, even though Time magazine won, it cost them more than any suit in their history. And so that was, a caution. I think the whole press, after that was chastened by the example. So we thought about it. And then Paul Haggis dropped out of Scientology. He was a 2-time Academy Award winner. And he was very much in that world that I was intrigued by. And it was too good. It was too good to pass up. And so when he agreed to the interview, I figured that this was my real chance to finally write something about why people like Paul Haggis, an intelligent, skeptical, creative, intriguing human being. Where did he go in order to surrender himself to the tenets of the Church of Scientology?
We'll get back to Paul Haggis in a moment, but I'm wondering, has the church rattled legal sabers over this?
Oh yeah, we had innumerable legal threats, and fortunately, I very stalwart. I had the magazine, and when you're working for the New Yorker, you're surrounded by great people, and we had eventually we had 7 fact checkers on that story, and one attorney. I was a little worried about that because when the Scientologists came to our magazine to confront us, about what we were about to write, they brought 4 lawyers, and they have lots and lots of lawyers, but
4 lawyers and 47 white binders, as I recall.
That's right. We had sent 971 fact-checking queries. That was the first volley, and it was like dead quiet for a while, and then suddenly, I had been trying to get them to talk to me, and they wouldn't talk to me. So suddenly, this delegation, the church's chief spokesperson, Tommy Davis, and his wife and assistant, and these 4 lawyers came with these legal binders, and they stretched out 7 linear feet. And these were supposed to be responses to our 971 queries. And I don't know if they thought they were going to drown me in information, but you can't drown a reporter in information. It's like pouring water on a fish. It's like I couldn't believe it. I was so full of joy. And when the meeting was finally over, I got a dolly and I took all those binders down to this disused computer room in the New Yorker offices, and I lined them all up on the desk, and I just looked at them, just with such pleasure, because I knew that inside there, just as during this epic meeting, is kind of legendary now at the New Yorker, during a bathroom break, David Remnick pulled me aside and said, "Well, you know what you got here, you schmuck. You got a book." Yeah, David, I know.
Well, speaking of books, today just so happens to be the 63rd anniversary of the publication of Dianetics, which spawned the whole Scientology movement. It was written by L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of the church, this very idiosyncratic, esoteric church, as you mentioned. Talk about L. Ron Hubbard and how he came to found Scientology.
Love what he said. He said, you can't drown a reporter with information, just like you can't drown a fish with water. And that's what Scientology tries to do. I mean, when you hear what they tried to do with the IRS to become a church status. But we got to speed it up because we want to try to get through everything. And the next one we're going to do it's a short clip. Guys, I really didn't know what Dianetics or Scientology was. I mean, I thought it was a self-help program. Aside from that, and Tom Cruise, I didn't even know what it was. So the only way I knew anything about it was through commercials like this. So Judy, hit it.
Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. A fresh look at today's problem.
Volume.
Buy your copy at Walden Books.
Okay, guys, that's about all I knew about Dianetics. I mean, I thought it was a self-help course, and I get such a kick out of these self-help courses because they always seem like they meet with a group of people. If it's self-help, why don't you take care of it yourself? All right, now we're going to meet the author of the book and the director and producer of the movie. So we're going to try to get this clip in, and this is from CBS Morning News. So Judy, hit it.
An upcoming HBO documentary about the Church of Scientology has sparked months of controversy. Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief includes interviews with several former church members.
In 2004, Miscavige ordered the top officers of the Sea Org to Scientology's Gold Base in Southern California. He forced them to live in a pair of double-wide trailers that came to be called the Hole.
The doors had bars put on them, the windows all had bars put on them, and there was one entrance door that a security guard sat at 24 hours a day.
I had to stay there, sleep there. It stunk, and there were ants crawling around. You sleep about an hour, 2 hours a night. You were in such a mental state that you're very controllable, very suggestible. We were told we needed to come up with what each other's crimes were against Miscavige and Hubbard so that we could eventually get out of the hole.
Scientology is really good at making you think that you're a scoundrel.
Confess your crimes, confess your crimes. What have you done?
The Church of Scientology criticizes Going Clear as one-sided and dishonest. The movie premiered in January at the Sundance Film Festival. It is based on a book by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Lawrence Wright. The director is Academy Award-winning filmmaker Alex Gibney. They're both with us in Studio 57. We invited a representative from the Church of Scientology onto this broadcast. No one was made available to come this morning. Let's begin with the question, why this documentary for you?
I'd actually been offered the story of the Church of Scientology many times, but it wasn't until I read Larry's book that I really became interested. And one of the things that really interested me was this idea of the prison of belief, the notion that people get so invested in a belief system that they'll do the most appalling things. And in that way, it's about the Church of Scientology, but it's also about a lot of other, about all of us, really, in terms of when we get invested in a belief system and suddenly that blind faith takes us places that are unexpected.
Larry, what interested you about Scientology?
Well, I've always been interested in why people believe different things. And, we have a smorgasbord of beliefs in this country, so you can believe anything you want. But why Scientology? It's the most stigmatized religion in America. But obviously, people go into it, they get something out of it. They affiliate with it, they lend their reputations to it. So my goal was to understand what was it that they were getting out of it. Why did they go in? Why did they stay?
I mean, this started as a magazine article for you that then became a book.
It was a profile of Paul Haggis, who is an Academy Award-winning writer and director who dropped out after 35 years.
Well, as you might expect, the Church of Scientology is not happy. They provided us with this statement. They said the film is a one-sided wine fest and bigoted propaganda. How do you respond to the criticism? Because a lot of people say you didn't interview anybody who was pro-Scientology, who's in the church and active and very happy with the church.
Well, actually, I reached out to a number of Scientologists, and as we say in the film, they all declined to appear, much as they declined to appear on this program. They did offer 25 unidentified people, but it's hard to understand. You know, imagine if 25 unidentified people showed up at the studios here and say, we demand to be heard. So the people,
is that what happened? 25 people showed up at your place? And
well, they said they were around the corner and were willing to make themselves available. This was very late in the game, long after I had asked for interviews from a number of key people who were relevant to this story.
But I did talk to a number of those people in active Scientologists in preparation for the article and the book. So their view were constantly solicited by me and reflected in the book and the article and in the documentary.
That's right.
One of the things that the movie alleges is that the church keeps these black PR files against Scientologists, including John Travolta. Why is it, and what are in these black PR files? Why are they allegedly compiled?
Well, this is how it works. You go into auditing in Scientology, and you know, they're holding these cans that is attached to an e-meter, and it's a combination of therapy and confession. And the most intimate details of your life are spilled out, and they are recorded secretly and sometimes videotaped. And I talked to a former member of Scientology who said that at a point when John Travolta was thinking about leaving the church, he was tasked with the job of compiling what they call black PR. In case Travolta left, they would be able to use this information against him.
Scientology is classified as a religion and therefore tax exempt.
Correct. And there was a huge fight over that because there was a point in the early 90s when Scientology faced $1 billion tax bill and only had about $200 million in assets, so they would have been extinct. But through some very nasty tactics, they actually muscled the IRS to give them a tax exemption, which they currently hold. So a lot of we are in effect subsidizing a lot of the activities of Scientology through this tax exemption.
Is there one point you want everybody who either read your book or saw your film to come away with about Scientology? I mean, what is your sort of theme here?
Well, I think there's one theme about Scientology, and then there's one broader theme. The theme about Scientology is, you know, this tax exemption, I think, really has to be re-examined. And also, we have to also look at these celebrities who are spokespeople for Scientology, particularly Tom Cruise and John Travolta, and wonder why it is that they allow these abuses in the church to go on and they don't speak out about it.
What kinds of abuses?
Child labor would be one.
Physical abuse. I had 12 people in the church tell me that they've been physically beaten up by the leader of the church, David Miscavige. And incarceration. There was a trailer on this camp where the clergy, called the Sea Org, years ago, David Miscavige began imprisoning top leaders of the church in there.
What evidence do you have of that? Those are some pretty tough charges to make.
And if John Travolta and Tom Cruise were sitting here, they would be...
Okay, guys, I'm sorry that we couldn't play the whole clip, but, you know, you can watch the whole movie. It's on YouTube. And all I want to do is, you know, get people out. Well, guys, once you watch the movie, believe me, you're not going to be a happy camper because these guys are so deceitful and so deceptive. And I mean, they're bad people. They really are bad people, and they're worse than the Moonies were back in the 70s. And I tell you guys, that brings back some memories that I don't want to go there anymore. And when are people going to start treating other people like people instead of like slaves? I mean, making them live in this place where, I mean, it's just evil. So guys, next week, hopefully we'll get back to all the renewable stuff. And I'm sorry I'm getting sidetracked, but we'll see you next week. Toodles. Yay! Success!